This is Yamade. The British cleared the villages of Jimsaje within months of taking over Kowloon. They wanted to get rid of the villages. All those villagers who could prove title to their ground, i.e. not the ones on the squat area at Jimsaje, were given a site on the sandbank at Yamade. And they were told they could rebuild their houses there. And so they rebuilt this house, and very quickly it becomes an important market town. This is built, therefore, in 1866-67. In the 1870s, a series of major diseases spread out here. It was horribly unhygienic. And in 1881, it gets demolished and replaced by what we see today. Shamshuipo, the other market town. This is old Shamshuipo, as it was in 1898. This is the old frontier here, the old border here. So there's a gap. There are shop houses here at the area that was called. My eyesight's going. Can't remember. Anyway, so these were in British Hong Kong. Then there was a gap, and then you have the houses in Chinese Shamshuipo here. Again, you can see this is a chaotic town, a source of serious disease here. It had a plague hospital here. The plague was very serious in Shamshuipo in 1894. And the plague hospital was built as a public charitable act here. The coastline runs like this. And there was an anchorage here for small boats. This temple survives, just. This is the development phases of Mongkok and Yamade. Not really worth spending much time. But Kowloon developed surprisingly late. This is Kowloon in 1920. By that time, the road system had been laid out, not in Daigokje, but most of the road system had been laid out. But the only parts that were built are the ones marked in black. So even as late as 1920, there were huge areas of Mongkok that had not been built up. And the old village of Mongkok here hadn't yet been cleared. And here, this area had really only just started to be developed. And it was most of the major development of Kowloon really only comes in the 1930s, and Daigokje really only in the 1950s. Is East Kowloon again. The major town apart from Kowloon City was Hung Hom, a major stone cutting town, developed as an industrial town around the docks, but it wasn't planned. It was a big squatter area basically. The whole town burns to the ground on the 1st of January 1881 and is redeveloped by the government on a more hygienic basis. Kowloon City area here, you can see this is the walled city of Kowloon here. The people lived in the market, which was outside the south gate, between the south gate and the sea. Here are some of the large ancient villages, Matawai, Ngatiwai, and so on. Go through this quickly. This is Kowloon City. This is the walled city here. You can see it's quite small. It's only a small part of the town. Most of the town is here. This is Gawungai, the main market here. The black is the roads here, lined by shop houses, and again, horribly insanitary. The Lok Sin Tong is here. This is the Lok Sin Tong Hospital here. This bit here is the execution ground, by the way. And this is the pier. You may have seen that they've discovered under the old Kaitak area, they've discovered a couple of the bays of this pier. This was a very major pier. It was a very fine construction because this is very shallow water, and even big junks couldn't come to the shore, so they had to moor out here. So they had built the pier so that people could get on and off the junks out here and then walk. And there was a fort there to control the fort. This is Kowloon City. Here are the four stone hills: Gaotogok, Chagoleng, Leiyumun, and Naochiwan here. These are the four stone hills. Each of the stone hills has a string of quarry faces. You can see them here, 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 here. And each quarry owned a quarry face. It had a few huts at the base of the cliff where the stone could be polished and where the workers lived. Most of the workers were single men. Caused immense amount of problems both to the imperial government and to the British government, because where you have, as you had here, about 1,000 single men, there is a tendency for them to go and get rollicking drunk and then start fighting. And the boats that took the stone up to Canton, this is where all the stone was cut, for instance, for the Catholic Cathedral in Canton. It was shipped from here to Canton. Very heavy ships to carry the stone, lots of sails, lots of men on board to manhandle the stone. And of course on the way back, they came back empty, and with all their sails and with all their men, and they came back very, very fast indeed. And the Viceroy was absolutely certain that most of the piracies in the area were caused by the stone boats on their return journey, because they were faster than anything else around. Here is Leiyumun in 1902. You can see how it works. You can see here the quarry faces. Then each quarry has a scatter of these little houses. This is where the workers lived. They're on this map because they were made of stone, because they built these huts out of the stone waste from the quarry. And then they would have had polishing grounds where the stone was polished, an office for the quarry master. The stone was cut on these surfaces purely by hand. They feathered the stone out of the rock. They didn't use explosives or anything. And then the stone was shipped from piers, which aren't shown on the map because the piers were bamboo piers, and therefore they only mark the permanent structures. The only pier they mark is this one, which is where the ferry pier went to Shamshuipo across here.